Christ. And that is so important. If you're going to look for a place where the cults are going to attack, it's going to be there. Deity of Christ. But in our defense of the deity of Christ, I don't think that we give enough attention to the humanity of Christ. That this was Christ, the man, who did what he did in the power of the Holy Spirit. And he is wore out. He comes to this point, it's evening, he's already done 20 days of ministry in the afternoon and morning. So he comes to the evening, and it says, when evening came, after the sun had set, they began bringing to him all who were ill and those who were demon-possessed, and the whole city had gathered at the door. And he healed many who were ill with various diseases and cast out many demons, and he was not permitting the demons to speak because they knew who he was. Now, this is evening. We want to be really strict about it. We could say 6 o'clock, probably a little bit later. This is evening. Now, the whole town shows up. Now, to try to give you an idea what this might be like, I was in a place called Santa Rosa, about probably 40 kilometers de Ayabaca, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot, in the Andes Mountains. Place I'd preached there. There's about 1,500 believers gathered, and we would preach there. And they'd stay all night, stay all day, stay 3-4 days. You preach outdoors to all these people, no microphones, day in and day out. Absolutely wonderful. Well, one day, we went to Ayabaca for this great big conference, and I brought a doctor with me. A doctor. Now, these people, most of them had never ever seen a doctor. Suffering from every kind of ailment you could ever imagine. No one knew the doctor was coming. And then all of a sudden I show up, and there's probably several hundred people there. And the news got out that I had brought a doctor, and that he had medicine. This is in an Andean town, village of mud huts, that never had the chance to go to a doctor. A baby get a small ailment, it dies. The people went wild. 10 hours a day I translated for that doctor. There were lines of people standing out. Probably in the end, probably 1,500 people or so, standing out in lines, and some of them waiting a full 24 hours. Now, in the midst of that, the time for the conference is drawing close. People know, I've been waiting here 2 days. This doctor's going to leave. He can't see me. I mean, we couldn't go outside of the house at night. People would try to grab him. Lines start. People would even get desperate and angry, maybe pushing and shoving. I mean, it was just literally a battle zone. And that doctor literally thought he'd never recover. That's what's going on here. I want you to see that. This is not some trite Catholic painting of Jesus sitting on a stone, and one by one a few people come up to him to be healed. These are desperate people. Have you ever seen people in time of catastrophe, time of war, time of terrible crisis? What happens? There's rioting, there's fighting, there's looting. They're desperate, absolutely desperate. And there is one man among these thousands upon thousands of people who every time he's touched somebody who was blind, they received their sight. There's a father there trying to get his son through that crowd and is willing to fight hell itself to do it. It is a madhouse. And they are pushing, and they are shoving, and they are fighting, and they are trying to get to him. And he is healing their diseases. He is casting out demons. He is giving sight to the blind. He's doing all this after an entire day of already fighting hell itself. Now, how long did this go on? Do you think that those people said, well, it's 10 o'clock. It's time to go. The only thing I try to figure out in this passage is I believe that he had to exercise something of his deity here just to get out of the house in the morning. I guarantee you, if I know anything about human nature and what I've witnessed out of this same thing, there's people sleeping all around that house. People standing on guard, waiting for just a window to crack or a door to open. So this goes on almost probably all night, into almost the wee hours of the night. And he is ministering, and he is absolutely wore out. So what would be the best thing for him to do? Sleep. Sleep all the rest of the morning, sleep the rest of the day, maybe wake up sometime in the evening of the next day. And I don't want to stand against the need for sleep. Sometimes we need to sleep. But I want you to look at something here. I don't want you to think of this as Jesus, God incarnate, alone. But Jesus, the man, filled with the Holy Spirit. Deity, yes, but still true humanity. And after all those hours of ministering, look what it says. In the early morning, while it was still dark. They came when it was dark. He ministered to them through the night. And so while it is still dark, how much did he sleep? An hour? A half an hour? 2 hours? But look what he does. In the early morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went away to a secluded place and was praying there. Was praying there. You see, we have physical bodies and they need physical sleep. We have physical bodies and they wind down, and sometimes it's good to sit on a dock or walk through a field or even, yes, take up some sort of hobby, I suppose. But if you ever think that you need that in order to recharge your batteries, you're wrong. From where does all life flow? From the throne of God. From where does power, spiritual life flow? From Him. He's the only inherent source. For the rest of us, we all depend upon His life. And what I want to share with you most of all is that I've seen so many pastors and preachers, and even myself, become convinced by other people that the way to recharge your batteries is to go play golf, or the way to recharge your batteries is to do that. Almost, no, you don't need to pray. You've been doing enough spiritual stuff. You need to get away from it all. What they're really saying is you need to get away from Christ for a while before He wears you out. The thing you most need is not to get away from Christ, but to run to Him. To be there with Him. Now I want you to look at something that's very important. Simon and his companions searched for Him, and they found Him and said to Him, "Everyone is looking for you." Now, Pastor, listen to this. It's almost like they're saying something like this. Don't you care about these people? Don't you care about these people, Jesus? Everyone's looking for you. There's all these sick people, demon-possessed people, needy people, and you're out here in a secluded place praying by yourself. Don't you care about these people? Pastor, isn't that a great problem that you have to deal with? This constant tug of, well, I need to take care of the needs of the people. I need to be there for the people. I need to do stuff for the people. And the devil, I can assure you, will be behind a lot of that. Those people need a man of God above everything else. And you are a man of God to the degree that you are in the presence of God. And again, I want to say this, not just reading good books. And I want to say even this, not just reading the Bible or studying it, but being alone with God in prayer. To speak to Him, to hear from Him, to meditate upon Him, to commune with Him. One of the problems I have with the Reformed movement in America is this. We are so afraid of all the folly and vanity of the charismatic movement that we've come to believe that the entire Christian life and our relationship with God is nothing more than correct exegesis. And that's why. There is a sense of dwelling with God, of being with God, being in the presence of God, knowing God, speaking God, yes, even experiencing God, even though we hate that word.